Hello today. We're coming to you from our studios live right here at 918 Mill Street, and this is Lou Porter posting as usual for our police chief, Dan Trelkas.
Good morning, Lou.
Good morning. It's still a cold morning though, Chief.
It is, yes it is.
Yes, it is. Nobody's happy about this weather, but it just goes to show you, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
We can't control it.
It's
We cannot control it.
winter in the Midwest.
Yes, it is. And we're looking forward to spring in the Midwest.
We are.
It will come.
Yes, it will.
All right, this is gonna be a free-for-all, because I wanna we're at the beginning of a new year, and I'm sure that there are things from last year, things that you're looking forward to for this year and that kind of
Yes.
thing. So
Yeah.
let's just jump in. I think crime is probably what everybody is concerned about. They don't know quite
Right.
what to do about it, but there is concern that it does continue to plague not only Waterloo, Iowa, but the whole nation.
Yes, well, we're lucky in Waterloo that since 2009, our crime is actually down 18%.
Yeah, isn't that something?
It is nice, it's wonderful. The bad thing, it's like the cold, it's like a rash that won't go away. These shootings that we're experiencing, where people are shooting up cars, shooting up people, shooting up houses, and we generally have a good idea of who it is. It's just developing enough information to hold them accountable.
Yeah.
Because a bullet doesn't discriminate. It could hit a child.
Yeah.
If we could, we're struggling with that, and we're appealing to the community to, lay down your arms. If you're, and generally young men.
Yes,
We've got young men
exactly.
shooting at other young men because of ridiculous beefs over money, a girl, or they were dissed for some reason. And the families of these young men are so important, because we'd rather see the family try to avert
Yes.
the use of the weapon,
Yes.
so we don't have to get involved.
Mhm.
Last year we had 4 homicides. 4 homicides, one case that's going to be, in essence, a manslaughter or negligent homicide case, but 4 intentional homicidal acts. And it's interesting when we analyze, when we look back at them, 2 of them were domestic violence type situations, and the other 2 could be characterized as one of these beefs where young men killed other young men.
Right.
Somehow, some way, we got to have more of an impact on that.
Well, and I am, interested in the whole, your concept, because I think it makes so much sense. The police can only go so far, do so much.
Right.
If we don't somehow get an intro into the families of these young men, just as you just said,
Yeah.
then maybe it's going to take longer.
Yeah, and well, then the
It's-
cycle
yeah.
continues, the
And
cycle of
continues
violence.
in the meantime.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's frustrating, but the community is, I've mentioned years ago that I see a lot of good things happening in this community. There's a lot of positive dynamics. I'm excited where we've come the past 4 to 5 years.
That long
But there's
already, yeah.
so much more to do, just so much more to do.
And we're going to need the community and parents to help us do that.
Yeah, everybody needs to.
Everybody needs to be on that. We usually want to call on the church, for instance.
Right, yep.
We need to include our teachers.
Yeah.
Some additional way to work with our teachers. They see those kids most of the day.
Oh, yeah.
We get them up, get them off to school, go back and pick them up, and a lot of times that's it. There's no sitting down with the child or what happened today, did you read a book, what was it about, whatever. And I hate to say this, maybe this isn't the correct English to use, but I'm thinking we've almost lost, that's the word I don't want to use, this generation.
Right.
Let's say we have a generation that's still in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't get caught up with this one somehow and get them turned around, we're going to lose another one.
Right.
And it all goes back to the families.
It does, yeah, it all boils down to the family. What I'm encouraged by, though, is even there are people that disagree with me, I disagree with other people on issues such as this. But how I like to clear the air and get back to the basics is we can all agree that the loss of life is tragic.
Oh, my goodness.
So what can we do
Just horrible.
to avert that?
Exactly. Well, you've been here, how long have you been here?
It will be 4 years in May.
All of
So
it.
time
And
flies.
It does. It
Time
truly
flies.
does, yeah. Is there anything that you're not doing that you would like to do? Is there some other approach? Well, I'm sure that there's plenty of different approaches, but you gotta find the one that works for where we are.
Right. Well, what I continually, one thing I'm continually looking for is I'm trying to find a group of dynamic individuals in the community that I can work with we can work collectively together to have a positive impact on the violence that's occurring in the community. There's so many people who are doing so many different things that are having a positive impact. And I don't know, people ask me, they'll say, hey, Director Trelka, what is the police department doing to have a positive impact on the violence in this community? And I tell them that we're doing all we can to hold the worst of the worst accountable. That individual that's jeopardizing your life and your family's lives by shooting at other individuals, and
Right.
We're doing all we can to hold them accountable. That's what the police department's doing. The one thing we can't do is we can't be involved in the raising of children. You know, and what's so interesting is when I ask different individuals in the community what they think the root cause of the violence is, I get so many different and varying interesting answers: social economics, cultural aspects, the family. But the number one thing is the family. There's with some individuals, there's that family nucleus that's lacking, and we've talked about it so many times. And we can't blame that individual. We can't blame that child because they lack that.
Absolutely.
But they get to a point in life where they control their destiny, and they start making bad decisions, and it's just sad to see some of these young men, based on some of the decisions, end up dead or in prison.
Yeah.
And I say men because it generally is young men.
Legal age is 18, is it?
Yeah, yeah.
So if you've committed a crime of some kind and you are 17 years old, will you be handled under that, or do they sometimes wait until the person is 18?
Good question, because it depends, in Iowa, by law, it depends upon the act you commit. Let's say you commit a homicide. You are automatically waived into adult court at, I can't remember the age, but it's probably 15, 16 years old.
Wow.
Armed robbery, same thing. If it's an act of violence, you're
Yes.
automatically waived into adult court. And the age of culpability, criminal culpability in Iowa, I believe is 12. So if you're 8 and you commit a crime, you're given services, but you're not held accountable. You're not necessarily punished. But once you hit 12 or 13, you know, as we get older, we start to have a better concept distinguishing between right and wrong. Even those of us who have Christian faith. The one thing I've always wondered is, you know, if a child dies, at what point does God say, okay, what age? Because if an infant dies, even though they're sinful, you can't blame that child for being a sinner. You know, I often wonder at what point does God start holding you accountable and saying, okay, because of you know.
I'm sure that many of us do, and I haven't gotten an answer, but if I do, I'll share it with you.
Well, that's one thing I struggle with.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see.
I understand that, yeah. The interesting, the other part of that is that when we talk about families, it's not to damn them or to condemn them in any way. It's to say, we got a problem. Houston, remember that?
Yeah.
Houston, we got a problem.
And what can we do to help?
What can we do to help, you know? And I say, for instance, the radio station is very much underused, I think, by people who have something to say, who have ideas and so forth, but for some reason don't come forward.
Right.
And then when something happens, you know, everybody jumps on the bandwagon or march or whatever is going on, which there's nothing wrong with that either. But then we all go back home.
Right, right.
And so what did we really accomplish?
Exactly.
You know, we've got to get more going on at home that tells these young people some things are not permissible.
Right.
You will not be able to do this and this and this and live in my house. You know, people used to lay down those kind of rules.
It's tough love.
Tough love, tough love. And now it's like, I know you're not talking to me. You know, you have some children who are so terribly disrespectful. I have seen and heard things that I never would have believed in my lifetime.
Yes.
To call your parent out of their name, oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just things that you didn't do. You
Yeah.
didn't even think to do them,
Yeah.
much less do them. So we are in a different culture. It's a culture within a culture.
It is amazing what's, and I experienced it several months ago. I don't know if I shared this on the program before or not, but I love the movie Elf, where Buddy the Elf, my kids love that movie. But
Yeah,
there's a scene in the movie where he tries to hug a raccoon, and the raccoon hisses at him and tries to bite him. And he says, "Well, you just need a hug." We had a young man brought into the police station a while back. He's probably 12 or 13 years old, and I pitied him because he got in trouble. And I just wanted to talk to him. I said, "Hey, young man, how are you doing?" And the officer told him, "Hey, this is the chief of police. Can you say hello to the chief of police?" You wouldn't believe how he swore at me,
Get out of here.
and I'm thinking, wow. And I don't blame him. I
Right.
blame his
How
environment.
did it get to? Yeah.
You know,
How did it
I
get
felt
to
like
that?
Buddy in that movie. I just
Yeah.
want to give you a hug,
Yeah.
and I get my arm taken off.
Yeah. Exactly.
It was a very eye-opening experience. I pitied the young man, just
I can
pitied him.
believe it. I can believe it. We are at, I don't know what stage as a nation, as a country and so forth, but you've got to have people who want to do the right thing, who want to be part of communities. You know, oftentimes you find people running from place to place, from community to community. I'm getting out of here, it looks
Right.
bad, you know.
Right.
I've been seeing a lot of traffic at such and such a place or whatever. And if they can move, they will do that.
Yes.
And a lot of times, if you just check it out, it will start a trend. And people who have lived there many, many years, maybe 25, 30 years, now are saying, I want to leave. I
Right.
want to move. You
Right.
know, I don't like what's going on in the neighborhood. I'm not comfortable when I go to bed at night. You know, I think the most frightening thing to me would be someone comes to my house and sticks a gun in my face, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, we've had those.
We have.
We've
Yes.
had those.
Yes.
So,
And those situations can be so interesting because, like, if that happened to you and I, because we just had one this past weekend, we'd call the police immediately. It just,
Yes, of course.
if people wait several hours, then, the police wonder, the public wonders when
Yeah.
they read this and they say, well, why'd they wait? That's difficult to comprehend. And part of it, sadly, is a distrust of the police
Yes.
that certain individuals have.
yeah.
So that explains some of it, but, another aspect that we seriously have to consider is, well, what was going on there that caused this to happen? There's always something more to the story. But
And
sadly,
sometimes people change their mind after they've made the call, and when you get there, it's like, oh, nothing.
right,
It's like, and you say, are you kidding? You called 911, something must have been going on.
well, the one thing the police need to do is we need to overcome this distrust, because
Yes.
there's reason that distrust exists because of things that happened 10, 20, 30 years ago. And I call it that barrier, that wall.
Yeah.
We're still trying to tear that wall down. We've had tremendous success, but there's a lot to do yet, and that's sad.
Do you think that talking about youth again, young people, what's the youngest person on your staff, for instance?
Ah, boy, probably, because we'll hire individuals that are to be police officers that are 20 years old. In the state of Iowa, as long as they have a high school education and they're an adult, we can hire them. And for the Waterloo Police Department, we don't tend to hire people younger. We like them to be a little bit older, a little bit more mature, because being a police officer in Waterloo is not like being a police officer in a small rural community in Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
We deal with an element of society that'll chew you up and spit you out.
Yeah.
So we don't want to hire people that could potentially fail because of their lack of maturity, wisdom, age, whatever. So we like experienced officers. We love, and our candidate pool that we typically, we hire a lot of sheriff's deputies, Blackhawk County Sheriff's deputies. And most of them are working in the jail. They've had exposure to that criminal element to these people. They're mentally, emotionally prepared to come and be employees for us. The one thing we still struggle with, frustratingly, is our lack of diversity. You know.
Yes, oh, I don't know about that one,
But we can't employ you if you don't apply.
Yeah,
So,
but
and
even
that's-
though, again, sadly to say, Chief Trelka, it's that misunderstanding, it's the people not trusting, you know, like you said, it could have happened 30 years ago, well, I still don't trust you.
Right, there's that stigma.
Yeah,
That stigma.
there's that stigma, and in some cases, you cannot deny that played a part.
Oh,
It
yeah.
plays a part, I don't care how much we look the other way, we have a ways to go.
Yes, oh gosh, we have a long way to go.
Yeah, we have a long, long way to go.
Well, what I enjoy is the dialogue I have with so many different aspects of the community. And even though at times it may be a painful dialogue,
Yeah,
we
it's
still...
better to have it than not.
Right, and that has been so beneficial for me,
Yeah.
for the department, for the community, and we've seen the benefits of it, which is good.
Well, we're talking to Chief Dan,
Trelka, yep, it's a tough, that Polish name.
Polish name, oh, yes. Well, we are going to ask you to tell us something about the force. You've been here 5 years almost.
Yeah, yep.
I'm not gonna ask you, do you regret it? I'm just gonna ask you, where are you on this continuum of, you know, lower crime rates? That looks good.
Yes.
Are that you know that we need to be more diverse
Yes.
than we are, and these are large problems.
They are.
These are not something that you can just sweep under the table, because
Right.
it's still gonna be there.
Right.
And a matter of fact, that's what's happened in a lot of cases,
Yeah.
you know. Not just in Waterloo, but we pick up the paper and we see where a policeman has killed someone,
Right.
whether rightfully or whatever, you know, people tend to rush to judgment and all that kind of thing. And from the beginning, they will say, if it's an African-American or a person of color, from the day one, the first thing out of the mouth, they killed someone.
Right.
And that just floats out through the news,
Yes.
over the air, before you even know what is going on.
Social media.
Yeah. You think is it as good or bad as people make it? It's how you use it.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's so interesting. I mean, social media, and it goes hand in hand with the internet. And I often ask myself, has the internet and social media been good for us or bad
Or
for
bad
us?
for us.
I would say mostly good.
Mhm.
Bad in that a good example is with child pornography.
Oh,
This
Lord.
country had done so much to get ahead of it and work toward minimizing it. With the internet, it's crazy again. It's terrible. But if we, you know, even the Pope came out recently and talked about the internet and social media, and he feels it's generally good for good causes, but there's the
But not
evil
so
that it
good,
involves.
The evil, yeah.
And what's interesting is I had a meeting down in Ankeny with several other chiefs in the state on Wednesday, or Tuesday, and the chief of police from Ankeny is also a chief from Wisconsin. He came to Iowa 9 years ago. And he asked me, he says, Dan, do you any regrets? Any regrets about coming to Waterloo? And I told him none at all. So it's okay to ask me that question because
Alright.
it's the community has been so good for me. I've gained wisdom. I've gained a
Alright.
broader perspective on life. And I hope, I'm comfortable in saying that I've been good for the community, and I'm comfortable in saying that the majority of the people feel that way, although I do know there are some people that are saying, I wish that bum never would have came from Wisconsin.
Well, you know, they're gonna do that regardless.
That's right, that means I'm doing my job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if you're
Yeah,
not,
but nothing.
if you're not making
something
some
else is
sort of
going on.
waves.
Exactly.
But we,
And speaking to the issues so that other people can have a chance to do the same thing and to participate. And I sometimes feel, how did we get to the point where we don't even speak out?
right,
You know, when things are
Right.
happening or it's a short-term kind of thing. It's like, well, I did that, I'm going back home until the next thing pops off,
Well-
and then we'll come again.
well, what disappoints me is every time we have a homicide, where's the outcry?
Yeah.
Where is it?
Exactly,
It's,
exactly.
that's frustrating, it amazes me.
you'd have to be amazed because you don't know what the answer is.
I want to see protest. I want to see protest against the violence in this community when we have a homicide, and I never see it. Where is it? It's frustrating. Are we? I think, you know, with all Waterloo has been through in 50, 60, 70 years,
You'd
we've
think
become
we'd be on the
callous.
front line, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
There's, and we also use the excuse sometimes about, we're family, so, you know, family doesn't tell on family, that sort of thing. Personally, have I ever, or anybody in my family, been associated with the law? I would say yes, too closely.
Yeah, well, same with me and my
Too
family.
closely. Yeah, you know, you
Yeah.
just tell it like it is.
Right.
So, it doesn't help at all when these kids are given an excuse of some kind and they know that they're being supported by the community. It doesn't really make them think.
Right.
You know, well, I can always, kid told me I can go out right now and come back with a gun.
Well, it's interesting too that, you know, until we're 25, 26 years old, our brain, and as odd as this may sound, our brain doesn't realize the finality of death.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting because we don't, you know, when you're 19, 20 years old, you're not even thinking of the what could come tomorrow. You
Right.
shoot into a car and
Yeah.
then you seem surprised when you're,
My goodness,
Yeah.
that hurt somebody, you know, killed somebody. And guns don't kill people.
right,
A gun has never killed a person.
it's the person.
Not
yeah.
ever. It's the person with the gun.
Yeah.
And that we don't want to acknowledge that because then we would have to take responsibility.
Well, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could go a whole year in Waterloo without a homicide?
You know, wouldn't that be
That's
something?
one of our goals. We'd like to see that.
Yeah. But even as we want to have that to happen, there's got to be coming from the parents and other community people, the coming forward of a group, don't care what you call it, just
Right.
concerned citizens, concerned parents, concerned whoever, all of them together at the same concerned teachers. We're all under this same thing. We're all living under the same cloud.
Right.
So you can't sit around and wait for 2 or 3 people to come and solve your problem.
Mm-hmm.
Bring the 2 of them together. I'll bet you any money there's somebody out there that has a like situation or has faced something like
absolutely.
that. But we tend to think that, well, sometimes we're ashamed. Sometimes we tend to think we're the only one, you know. And that's not true because with the social media or whatever they do with the internet, I don't even fool with it. But the way it's used can be very harmful.
You can,
And
yes.
can cause people to be hurt. Whoever would have thought that
Yeah.
something would be created, that you could just sit down and deliberately, in your mind, think of, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take this gun, I'm gonna go to school, and I'm gonna shoot everybody I can find.
Yeah.
Well, how would you know that? You wouldn't even know that that was going on in the person's mind.
Right.
But at the same time, I bet you if we took time to look at our own families, how are the children acting? Don't you even know the behavior
Right.
of your child? You know, my mother would say, oh, or somebody would tell her something, and she'd say, well, I have to check that because that's not likely, that's not the way he, you know, thinks.
Right.
So I really don't think that he was involved. And do you know your word would be taken?
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Because they know that you are raising that child correctly and not trying to take up for him, but letting him know there are consequences and that whole bit. The village, which is totally
Right.
gone, totally wrecked. But there's just so many ways that people could get together if they would.
Yes.
So we can't let adults and parents and anybody else off as long as our kids are dying, whether it's in Waterloo or wherever, we can't afford that.
Well, at least I'm optimistic, Lou.
Well,
You know?
I am.
Until the day I die, I'll be
Yeah,
optimistic.
yeah. Well, it's a good thing that we are optimistic because if we weren't, think what a mess we'd be in.
Right. Right. Well,
Yeah,
and
it's not nearly as bad.
the one thing that, and I know it annoys you, it annoys me, it should annoy everybody who lives in Waterloo, but I hate how people outside our community are always degrading us.
Always.
And with the
Always.
sportsplex, I've seen it on the blogs
The
and stuff.
mayor was
Just-
saying the same thing, yeah.
You
What do
know.
you think about it, though?
Well, the sportsplex,
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm a
It's-
member.
it's neat.
My whole family and I.
Yeah.
It's what a gem for Waterloo.
Wow. And I'm sure that that's gonna bring people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, to Blackhawk
Absolutely.
County, absolutely. Well, it's quite an achievement.
It is,
Yeah,
yes, it
and-
is.
And I think that you really have to say it was a job well done and a big job taken on, and
Yep.
mainly by the Young family.
Yes.
And Rick Young heading that up. There's been a lot of talk about, people, it wouldn't work, it wouldn't do that, it was all,
Mm-hmm. A lot of
I'm saying,
naysayers.
well, stop kicking ourselves. Don't we have enough of that?
Yeah. Well, just look at downtown Waterloo.
Oh.
Remember what, and I wasn't here 15 years ago, but I've been told, look
Well,
how
and you
down,
could have seen if you see the pictures, oh, man.
look at it today.
Yeah, look
I
at it
mean,
today.
There's not enough places to live downtown for people
That's
that want
right.
to live there.
People-
Amazing.
I understand people, there's a waiting list.
Yeah, that's a good problem.
That's a
That's
good
a good
problem,
problem.
isn't it? Okay. Anything else you want to bring up or share?
We still got a lot of work to do, Lou, but
We do.
with help of people like you, we may take 2 steps back. For every 2 steps we fall back, we're taking 3 steps forward.
Yeah,
And we can never, ever lose hope. And that's the message for the community.
that's the
Because when you
message.
lose hope, you got
It's
nothing.
over.
Yeah.
It's really over. We want to say thanks to our Director of Safety Services, Dan Trelkas, and the fact that he takes time to come by and keep us up to date with what's going on and where he lives. We have the fire chief as well. I was thinking about him this morning because there was a fire yesterday and I couldn't find
Yeah.
out. Someone said it was Village Inn. I don't know where the
Yeah,
fire.
spontaneous combustion, some wood
Isn't
rags or
that
something, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Well, we're glad no harm came from that. But we're glad to have you. I think it adds a different element for people to hear from the source, which is you, and our fire chief person. That was a good one.
Yes, he's a
Yeah,
good
you
man.
still like that, don't you?
I
Yeah.
see he was here in
So-
November.
Yes, absolutely. So we want to thank you for taking time, Chief Trelkas. We'll see you again next month.
Okay, I'll be
And,
here. Warmer weather.
warmer weather, spring is in the air. That's a little much, but it is on its way, for sure.
It is, yep.
Thank you again for being with us today. You've been listening to Chief Dan Trelkas, Director of Safety Services right here in Waterloo. If you have questions or anything, Chief, if someone wanted to talk to you, how could they reach you?
You can email me at trelkad@waterloopolice.com or give me a call at 291-4322.
Okay, and do you still have what is known as the open door, meaning
Yes,
if I needed to
absolutely.
see you, I could come
You
down?
just walk right in.
You are.
Yep.
So take away all the excuses and let's go forward. Somebody think of something, come on over to KBBG, let's talk about it. We want to say thanks to our listeners for being there. Lou Porter signing off for Trelkas Way.